Saturday, April 20th, 420. Happy 420 day, folks. If you know what that even means, shame on you. All right, so a couple of updates. It's been a couple of weeks since I went out on the boat, and let's turn that down. Something developed after my last trip. I actually did a business trip to New York, and had a sudden issue of not being able to walk on my right foot. I thought somehow I fractured it, but didn't have any trauma. Prompt care, and in a hospital visit later, I find out they diagnosed me with cellulitis. So my foot was all swollen. I couldn't put any weight on it, but I thought it was a fracture at first. At any rate, I've been on a course of antibiotics for the last week, and my foot's manageable at this point. So I thought, I'm not dying, I'm gonna go ahead and go sailing. So good lesson learned. I mean, something I would have done anyways, but you know, if I'm gonna be really far away from civilization, I'm gonna make sure that I'm packing some antibiotics, because this is like one of these random things I've never had any issue with ever. And it can be life-threatening if you don't treat it. So that's you know, something I want to pay attention to in the future. The other, you know, thing of note that I wanted to talk about that's really important on your boat are fashion choices. So let's talk a little bit about shoes. Shoes need to be comfortable. They need to be able to drain on a boat. I think that's important. I do. And most important, they need to look good. So let me show you what we got going on here. I don't care how stupid these Crocs look. They are the most comfortable boat shoe. A lot better than those stupid flip-flops that I wear, and they're a lot more comfortable than my other boat shoes. So we are gonna raise the main here. Let's have a look. All right, she's coming up well so far. Doesn't look like we're caught with the battens and the lazy jacks. Carmen and Chris from SV Aeronautical and their guests, Felicia and Ken from Stolen Idol fame, should be joining us at Avalon. So we are going to head about course of 175. I'm seeing true wind around 6 knots, which is pretty slow. I feel about 9 apparent right now. So the winds, unfortunately, if I look at true wind, that's going to be right on the nose. But I think it's going to be fluky today, and it's supposed to build to 10 to 15. Now it's only 7:15. So time is kind of on my side, unless the moorings start filling up in Avalon, in which case if I get iced out, I mean, I'm sure I could get in at Descanso if I wanted to. Not sure that I want to do that, but at any rate, we're rolling, and a little bit overcast, but I can see Catalina off the starboard. Having our first sighting of by the wind sailors. It'd be hard to see. They're these little, I guess they almost look like little tiny Portuguese man-of-war, but they're not. Technically not a jellyfish, they're colonies. And I guess if you pick them up, they can sting very mildly. A little boat traffic up in here. So I took a bearing on this guy, 225 degrees. Used, there's a compass inside of binoculars, and we'll see how that compares to what the chart plotter tells us. .231, it's pretty close. So if we see the bearing decrease, that means he's going to be getting closer to us. We see it increase, and we're going to pass in front of them. So pass in front, we'll see the bearing decrease. If he's going to pass behind, we'll see bearing increase. And if we're going to hit him, we won't see the bearing change at all. So it's interesting with these Class A, AIS, you can set things like your destination, whether you're towing or under power, anchored, and this guy shows destination of PDX. It's clearly not headed to Portland. That's okay though. So we took a hitch to starboard. Looked like they were going to pass in front of us. Wanted to increase a little bit of a distance. So now we're seeing over 2 miles. Should be a safe distance to pass behind them at this point. Pretty confident that if they're towing something more than 2 miles, we'll know. But if we get a little bit closer, we'll keep an eye out. But I think they're going to pass well ahead of us at this point. We'll maintain speed and course now. You see them off to starboard. They will be passing well in front of us, unless they have a big change in course at this point. But it looks like they are starting to straighten out a little bit. So one cure actually did make a pretty good turn to port as the shipping lanes kind of take a little bend here. So we took another 30 degrees to starboard. See him off our bow at this point. So we're going to maintain 1.25 miles, and we'll be passing behind him. So we're about 50-60 degrees off right now. We're actually headed towards the west end of the island a little bit. That's okay. Here you can see our friend there, one cure. And you can see the buffer zone in between the shipping lanes with the traffic separation scheme. So we'll stay in this little buffer zone for a little bit, and then as these guys get further past our bow, we will get back on course. So things are looking good here to pass them, and we are now back on course with about a little under 16 nautical miles to go. About 9:30, finally see some dolphins, although they're not coming towards us. And we're just creeping along at the island. We're about 10 nautical miles out or so, so about mid-channel. All right, what's this floating in the water? It's a seal. We got another pod of slow movers here. I'm gonna guess these are rissos. I just got a little tired of listening to the damn motor. So we're about 7.5 miles from Avalon. Went a little bit to starboard. Let me just screw around a little bit and unfurl the head sail. There's hardly any wind whatsoever. I'm gonna have to go more to port. I see right now I've got about 20 degrees apparent, and I probably need more like 60 in this light wind. So we're just coasting around 2 knots, looking at the sails, just flogging around. Pretty much what I expected. Only got about 3 knots of wind or so. But that's okay. We're gonna give ourselves a little break from the engine and just chill a little bit, see where we wind up. Threw in the towel. Sails were just flogging. We are back on course, motoring towards Avalon. Looks like this sun might be poking through a little bit over the island. Should be nice if we get a little bit of clear skies at some point. Maybe this stuff will burn off before the day's over. 2 miles out, main is down. We're on the final stretch here. Good view of the casino in Avalon. Look at this, the sun's coming out. Not too bad. And one thing when you're doing your chain plates, you probably want to watch out. You have rust. If you have rust, it's probably time to change them. Look at the stripes on that sucker. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Back here it gets a little tight. All right, I'm gonna give myself a C on this solo mooring pickup. I didn't completely stop the boat moving forward, so I went it just a little bit further forward than I probably wanted to. And then the harbor patrol, who I asked to stand by and assist, they tied up a line and started pulling, which made things kind of interesting as well. So I would have been fine to muscle it in. I think they did help a little bit, so I appreciate that. Conditions are pretty benign. I just really, you know, if it's solo and stuff like that, I was a little tired. I'm like, well, these guys would rather help me out than have me wrap around the mooring lines with my prop. All right, Aeronautical's going in for the pickup. They're backing up. All right, looks like Aeronautical's going to give it another shot. All right, good job, guys. I see the bows on and they're running the sand line. They're almost there. All right. Delicious dinner at the Blue Rose. Let's see how many people we can fit in this dinghy. 5 people easily. This thing is awesome. All right. Got a decent night's sleep last night. Time for a little bit of breakfast and cooking with keel dragger. So we're gonna make a breakfast burrito. We've got some tortillas, some sausage. I know I'm cheating with the pre-cooked stuff. Some eggs, some cheese, some salsa. So we'll heat up our tortilla and then we'll get to work. A little fire going on here. Turn that down a hair. Heat up our tortilla a little. Maybe see if we can burn the hair off our fingers. Okay, sausage is on. We'll cook it. All right. Eggs and sausage are on. We'll throw a little cheese on and a little bit of salsa. All right, breakfast is served. Little bait fish. All right, we've got a good test on the engine, which is cool. We're running. We burned about 45 amp hours worth of juice last night, so just had the fridge on and kind of minimal electronics. So that's a pretty lean evening. I think we're around 57 amp hours as of before starting the engine. Running a little bit more electronics and stuff like that this morning, but I got the engine on. Everything looks okay so far. The engine's running, which is good. The charge controller, which I had issues with last time draining my starting battery, appears to be functioning properly. I did put in switches so that I can isolate it, and I'm just keeping an eye on it at this point. I suspect it may have wigged out a little bit for some reason, probably when I had the shore power charger on. I'm not totally positive about that, but I'll just continue to monitor and keep an eye on it. But for right now, it seems like it's working fine. We'll let the engine warm up here for a little bit, and then we'll shove off. Not looking like there's going to be much wind, and it's a little overcast, which is okay. We'll run the radar just because we can, and that's about it. So it's 7:39. We will be shoving off before 8 a.m. Bow line's off. Stern line is off. Make sure it's sank. I see signs of life. You guys are up. I figured you'd still be sleeping in.
Well, we were up till we were going to watch the dawn, the sunrise, but you know.
Not much of one this morning.
Not much today. Have a good trip back.
Enjoyed hanging out with you guys. Have a good trip back. Looks like it'll be motoring.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the smoke coming up from the cruise ship, and it's going straight up.
I'm hoping that the winds pick up a little bit.
Maybe you'll get a little bit this afternoon.
That's what I'm hoping.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Hey, Mark.
So we're gonna kind of cruise through the mooring field. We got a little bit of traffic up here. There's the Catalina Express. They just honked. They might be backing out. And this cruise ship, some of these boats, they actually use the lifeboats to ferry people back and forth to the island. Sometimes they'll contract boats to come, but it's probably a good way for them to get their hours in to test their lifeboats regularly. Pretty cool looking. Flat and overcast, foggy out here. Better look at the Zandam Holland America cruise line. Adios, Avalon. See a few characters anchored out here, which is kind of nuts, I think. The Admiral and I, we did our, I guess our coursework for our PADI scuba certifications. And these big buoys here, and you can see kind of the little line going across marks the Avalon Dive Park. And that's free, and if you can see those steps over by the casino, you can just walk right in. It's great snorkeling. I mean, it gets, you know, a little deep, but there's giant kelp in there, so you see a lot of fish and stuff just snorkeling there. But this is where we're going to get our scuba certs, so we'll do our dives here at some point, try and get that scheduled. So a quick word about these B&G Triton 2 instruments. I installed them just before heading to Mexico when I did the standing rigging project, and I'll tell you about the data that I have. So this is course over ground, and this is waypoint bearing. So if my chart plotter is, if I'm not looking at my chart plotter or anything else, I can get a quick glance, and if these numbers are pretty close to each other, then, and I'm using magnetic instead of true, just hoping that lines up a little bit better with my compass. I still need to do some adjustments there. But this is pretty nice because once I set my waypoint, I kind of know whether I'm headed in the right direction or not. This center instrument is just general information, so I go ahead and put my position here. I've got it accessible in a lot of other places. The distance to the waypoint, my engine RPMs, boat speed through the water, and speed over ground. I may need to calibrate because boat speed's a little slower than speed over ground, and I don't think I'm getting a push from a current. So I can look at that. Time to waypoint, I have no idea what that means because it's not, there's no way it's 27 hours. I don't know what that is. Is that, I have no clue. So I'll have to look at that one. Velocity made good, 6.32, and your speed over ground. And then I use like this sail steer on my third instrument, which I also have my chart plotter, but this, on my chart plotter, I can actually see apparent wind a little easier, but I look for a couple things. One is apparent wind angle. So if I'm close hauled, I generally want to stay at a number larger than 30. Light winds, I may go 60, and heavier winds, I might go 35, 40. Trade-offs for speed versus angle. Apparent wind speed, which is how much wind I feel, and because we're motoring into the wind, we feel a little bit. And then 1 knot, this is the true wind speed right now, so there's only like a knot of wind out there. There's nothing. Now I can go through and I can cycle these screens, which is kind of cool. So there's apparent wind, true wind. This is like a time series plot, so I can see what the wind's doing over time. This is my depth plot over time as well. So if I'm anchoring, I can flip this on. This one shows boat speed as well as impact on tide and depth. I don't have an autopilot wired into this. Sail steer again, and then back to my course over ground and waypoint bearing. So the other thing is, like, if someone else is at the helm and I'm just chilling out, I can sit here and I can see these instruments as well, which is kind of nice. So I don't have to ask people what's going on. Cat Express hauling ass. They'll be doing probably a hair under 26 knots today, would be my guess. So I'll talk a little bit about radar at the chart plotter. So this is my radar display. This is a B&G Vulcan 12, and it's actually Simrad, but Simrad, B&G, Halo 20 Plus is the same radar. So you can see a couple things here. Here's kind of my radar view, and I am scoped to 8 nautical miles. And right now I am in offshore mode. You can look for weather, also for birds if you're fishing, which is kind of cool. And then harbor actually it doubles the speed of the radar rotation. I can't remember if it's 60 or 120 revs per minute. But this is kind of cool because over here I see like the 3 closest vessels. If they're on AIS, I can see where they're at, so that's pretty good for a glimpse of that. These little triangles, I can see the boats on AIS, and then I also see a couple of targets here. We'll zoom in. Couple of targets here which are not on AIS, but they're showing up as radar signatures. So if I look over here, I can see 2 boats off my starboard bow and a sailboat off to starboard. So I kind of see like 3 boats. 1, 2, I see 3 boats here. Actually 4, there's maybe another one I can't quite get a visual on. So that's pretty cool. And then this one right here, this dot, that's the Cat Express right in front of us. And then there's a little dot further out to port. I can see a sailboat there. So and it's super flat right now, which probably helps even more, but it's pretty nice to get a really good ambient picture of what's going on when you have a little bit of reduced visibility. Now we've got, I'm going to say 3 miles visibility solid, maybe 3.5. So this is the chart plotter. This is, I'm using the CMAP map at the moment, but I can go into overlay here and pick radar, and at some point start transmitting. I guess that helps. Now you can see all this red. These are radar returns. So now I can see radar signatures, features like land, as well as boats, ships start to return radar signatures. So this is pretty cool. We see this power boat coming towards us over on our port beam. Now I've got radar and I've got him tracking, and I can actually go, and there's a track target so I can see him, and I can look here, tracked target. I can see that he's doing about 17.88 knots with a CPA of 0.10 miles. It's pretty cool that the radar uses Doppler and can get the speed of the target and track it and give you a CPA on it, even when they're not running AIS. I think that's super cool. So it looks like he's gonna probably come in front of our bow if he doesn't change course. Barreling right down on us. Looks like he may have gone just a little bit to starboard, so he's gonna pass the stern of us. Something sighted. Could be dolphins running slow. Can't tell what this is. First I thought maybe a whale, but I can't tell what that is. So that right there is a whale. Doesn't appear to be a very large one.
Go ahead, John Henry.
Yeah, look at that. 100%. Can't tell what it is. Humpback maybe? I don't know. 9:15 and all is well, except we got smokers. This is pretty cool. I zoomed in a little bit and we're in harbor mode right now. So you can see all the returns from the personal watercraft coming through. Which is kind of cool. Gray is a past return. And I think we're doing 60 RPMs on the radar in harbor mode. This is 3/4 mile out. You guys are pretty close. we're picking these guys up right on radar, which is really pretty sweet. 11 a.m. update. Visibility's down to about maybe 2.5, 3 miles. I can see LA Lighthouse in front of me, as well as the sailboat. A little bit of traffic here. It's getting a little busier. Still feels pretty cool outside, but starting to see a little breeze as well. Maybe about 8.5 knots. So I could be sailing right now, but given the fact that we're on the tail end of our journey, I'm not going to mess with the sails today. We're just going to go ahead and stay dialed in to get back into the slip. Avalon Express at a hair under 23 knots, cruising through. Never fails. 13.8 knots here at Hurricane Gulch. 18 apparent. Mauretania cutting it a little close in here just to get in front of me. Waking me. Yeah, so these guys passed me on starboard just to get in front of me. What a total dick move.